Welcome to episode 2 of Paralegals Memo, the podcast where we break down global IP, arbitration, and legal trends in clear, practical language. Hello, I'm Winfield Trivette II, a bilingual paralegal and Spanish and Portuguese to English translator with deep experience across the region. In this episode, we cover 3 pillars of the Latin American trademark landscape. First, the high stakes of use requirements. Second, the strategy behind translation and classification. And third, how to navigate jurisdictional nuance. Quick note here before we dive in, make sure that you subscribe to the print edition of Paralegals Memo on LinkedIn at bit.ly/paralegal101 so you never miss an update. Trademark law in Latin America is a high-stakes balancing act. Firms expanding into Argentina, Brazil, or Mexico often discover that the smallest misstep can unravel years of brand building. Unlike the first-to-use system common in the U.S., most Latin American nations operate under a first-to-file regime, where registration, not market presence, is the primary source of rights. Dates of use, precise translations, and jurisdictional quirks are not mere clerical details. They are decisive factors. In this landscape, paralegals are the guardians of brand integrity, ensuring filings withstand the scrutiny of diverse national registries. Now let's look at the 3 main points of today's episode. Point number 1, the high stakes of use requirements. Precision in documenting use is the foundation of brand protection. While many jurisdictions offer a grace period, failing to provide accurate proof of use can lead to a non-use cancellation action by competitors. In Brazil, for instance, a trademark becomes vulnerable to cancellation if it has not been used within the 5 years of registration. A paralegal's role in auditing these timelines is critical. A misrecorded date of first use or gap in evidentiary evidence can erase enforcement rights entirely. Point number 2, the strategy of translation and classification. Goods and services descriptions must be navigated with linguistic and legal nuance. Mexico follows the NICE classification system, but the federal law for the protection of industrial property, LFPPI, requires specific descriptions that do not always align with broad, generic terms accepted elsewhere. A mistranslation or an overly broad description can result in an office action, delaying protection, or leaving gaps for competitors to exploit. Paralegals who bridge the gap between English, Spanish, and Portuguese in Latin America ensure that descriptions are both broad enough for protection and specific enough for local compliance. And finally, point number 3, navigating jurisdictional nuances. Each jurisdiction imposes unique procedural hurdles. In Argentina, the National Institute of Industrial Property, INPI, requires a midterm declaration of use, MTDU, between the 5th and 6th year of registration. Failure to comply with this document results in a presumption of non-use. Similarly, Chile's recent Law Number 21.355 updated its framework to include, quote, non-traditional marks, such as scents and sounds, but with strict technical requirements for representation. Paralegals who anticipate these differences, such as Argentina's mandatory affidavits or Chile's new technical filings, transform potential obstacles into successful registrations. And the paralegal's role in this matter? Paralegals catch errors before they reach the courtroom. They anticipate local demands, preserve accuracy, and keep filings enforceable. The lesson is clear. Paralegals are not just clerical assistants. They are strategic guardians of brand value. As we've seen in this episode, when it comes to trademarks in Latin America, precision is not an option. It's the difference between protection and collapse, and these 3 points we covered illustrate that. Number 1, the high stakes of use requirements. Number 2, the strategy of translation and classification. And finally, number 3, navigating jurisdictional nuances. Latin America's trademark tightrope is real, but skilled paralegals work with their supervising attorneys to ensure the brands never lose their footing. Oh, by the way, you can subscribe to the print version of my newsletter on LinkedIn, Paralegals Memo, at bit.ly/paralegal101 so you don't miss any insights that help firms avoid exposure, contain risk, and preserve client confidence, especially if you protect clients' interests in Latin America. Here on the podcast, I get to bring those ideas to life, add context, and walk you through the nuances behind the headlines. Thanks again for being with me as our journey continues at the intersection of intellectual property, arbitration, and translation through the eyes of a bilingual paralegal. Remember, this podcast is for informational purposes only, and nothing should be construed as legal advice. That's why you must always consult a qualified attorney. I'm Winfield Trivette II, a bilingual paralegal and Spanish Portuguese to English translator. Stay tuned for the next episode in which we explore the 7 mega trends impacting Latin America and clients' interests there.